Hello, Ina.
How are you?
I'm very good, and welcome to SoulBrews with Sheba on Coffee and Soul. I'm so delighted that you agreed to come on the show with me. Absolutely thrilled to have you here with me, Ina.
Thank you,
Welcome.
thank you, thank you so very much. It's a very cold day today, but the thought of coffee with you warms my heart, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Lovely. Thank you so much, and as am I. And it's finally happening. We've been trying to set this up for a while. I'm so
Yes,
delighted that we've been able to do it before the year ends. So
yes,
that's great. Do you have your cup of coffee with you?
I do indeed.
All right, great. So I will pour myself mine as well. Here's to life, Ina.
To you, Sheba,
And to you,
and
Ina.
Happy New Year round the bend. I hope there is happiness to be had for all of us and a healthy 2021.
And so well deserved. I hope so too. We'll drink to that.
Yes,
Cheers, Ina. Oh, yes. Mm,
lovely.
great. I'm going to ask you to hold this cup of coffee
I
uh,
will.
between your
I,
palms. Yeah, and
I
if you
will.
just nestle it. And could you just close your eyes and sit back and relax? And whenever you're ready, share with us what comes to your mind.
The smell of coffee takes me back to the first time that I knew what coffee was all about, because in Bengal, I'm a Bengali, we are tea drinkers basically. But my grandfather, Manish Ghatak, who's a very well known poet and writer, in Murshidabad, Bahrampur was my nanke, my grandparents' home. And my grandfather would drink a cup of coffee, black coffee. And that brew, the smell, the aroma has never left me. A sense of comfort is that smell of coffee. When I hold this cup in my hands, I go back to the time that I was a little girl and peeked into his cup and saw this dark black thing. I was wondering, what is it? It doesn't look like our cha,
Mm, mm.
plain coffee and all of that. So briefly, the history of coffee came to me via my grandfather, and it continues to, comfort, and it's nice to smell this cup of coffee and remember.
It's so amazing how these fragrances can take us back, isn't it, Ina? I mean,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah. What
absolutely.
a warm and wonderful memory. Thank you so much for sharing that. Uh,
It came back. Surprisingly, I hadn't thought of it,
mm,
but it suddenly, it just came back. For me, coffee is my dadu, you
how
know.
beautiful. Coffee is my dadu. How lovely is that? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And on that, we can put it down whenever you want to. On that note, would love to hear a little bit about your journey, life. How has it been? Some of the highs, your lows, some of your defining moments. What's the trajectory of your journey? We're very interested to hear about that.
Well, it all began in Calcutta, and before that, my parents were in Bombay, but we moved to Calcutta, and I was very fortunate in having a family of of people who were all established, who were anti-establishment too, to be honest. My grandfather was a very well-known poet, Monish Ghatak. His brother is Ritik Ghatak, the very
Mm,
well-known filmmaker. My Badi
wow.
Masi is Mahashweta Devi, the outstanding writer and activist. This is the kind of environment I grew up in.
Sure.
And so you learned when you were very little that life was what you made it out to be, that you had to do it your own way.
Sure.
And there wasn't some sugar daddy who's going to be there and help you along, but you have to do it yourself. I started reading. My grandfather's library was like Aladdin's cave, and precociously I started reading when I was very little, and I haven't stopped. As you can see, this,
I see that
all the
all your
walls are
books.
lined with books.
Yes. Art and
But
books, right? I see a lot of art also. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And it has been from day one. And so I started writing. I started publishing from the time I was in class 11, 12, initially for a local newspaper in Calcutta. Then Junior Statesman, Amrita Bazar Patrika offered me a column. I went to Bombay. I was studying in Jadavpur University those days. I was doing English.
Right.
And had the good fortune of meeting Dom Moraes.
Lovely.
Who,
okay.
Took me on as the Calcutta correspondent for Sunday Standard magazine, Indian Express. So that was how I started writing. And I have published many books, of course. There is Manjeet Bawa's memoirs. There's Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma's memoirs. There are books on art like Faces of Indian Art, which is a story with Nimai Ghosh, just departed, covering studios of artists, mostly art books, but there have been some exceptions. I was commissioned to do a book on Calcutta's Raj Bhavan, which I so enjoyed doing because it meant exploring this grand old building. We always thought it was haunted. We Bengalis are romantic people. We have a lot of imagination. So
and thank God for that. Thank God.
So we used to look through the gates, earlier, and Raj Bhavan was grand. That's where the Brits ruled from and all of that.
Right.
But here I was now an insider. I was inside the gate.
Amazing.
And I was inside this fabulous mansion. And Mr. Viren Shah was introducing me to this place, to the library, to this grand ballroom that still had a chandelier. So all of that, and so that was an exception. But I've been writing mostly, like I said, on art.
Right.
I made some documentary films. The one on Manjeet Bawa won the national award, so I got the Rajat Kamal for the documentary we made on Manjeet, which was directed by Buddhadev Das Gupta, and I produced it. I've worked on Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma's documentary and several other artists for Doordarshan and for other.
What a journey it must have been. How was it? What was it like to do these documentaries? What did it do for you, Ina?
Well, it was a challenge. It was an adventure. And because it was not like the conventional choice, I'm talking about the 80s when today it's very easy when you tell people that you're a curator, they understand what you're saying. But in the 80s, 90s, when you said you're a curator, they really didn't know what to make of it in India.
There were no reference points, I guess.
There were no reference points.
Yes.
But I was very fortunate where Manjeet is concerned, his art, getting to know more about his life, his story, his completely magical journey, the highs and the lows. That was a huge lesson. I mean, that defined the way I looked at art, and I continue to look at art. It's as if that mentor is still somewhere around saying, "Isko dekh, don't neglect that. Go back, have a look at it again. He's a young person, doesn't matter. You have to look at the young and the experience with the same eye." So these are lessons of a lifetime. And I was fortunate in having such a wonderful teacher guiding me. But he's been long gone. And my journey continues. I have brought out several other books after he's passed, some on him as well.
Yes.
And
the painting behind you it's a sketch, right? It's Manjeet Bawa you were telling me about.
Yes. Yes, there are two works behind me. Yeah. There are two works. One is that of Rabin Mandal, and he's again a very important artist from Bengal. He's used a script. It's a very, very interesting collage of figures, but textured with script, and somehow it's arresting, this image. I bought it from his retrospective in Delhi some years ago. He is also passed. And yes, the other work is that of Manjeet Baba's. It's a very, very important work dating back to 1984, to the Sikh riots. Manjeet himself was a Sikh, and this was a subject very close to his heart, where he's talking about how nation is actually throttling, strangling his own child, and in a sense speaks about the relationship between the nation and the state, which is what happened in Punjab then. The whole conflict between Punjab and our government, the central government. So yes, this dates back from that time, and interestingly, he used his own image and that of his son Ravi. So the older man, the Sardar that you see, actually trying to hurt the boy, is Manjeet's own face, and the son is the prone figure lying on, in his arms. So it's a very, very important work from his.
It is really, really riveting, very compelling. I mean, you can't look away. It is such a powerful piece of work. So I'm so glad that I'm able to see it as I'm talking to you, and I'm sure the people who will see this will also resonate with what I'm saying. It's very, very compelling. So,
I had an exhibition of Manjeet's, which I think is one of his most important exhibitions, called Mapping the Conscience. And the painting, this is a drawing, and Manjeet was a master draftsman. He was brilliant with charcoal and pencils. But the painting that he made from this was part of that exhibition, Mapping the Conscience, and several images. It was the only time that Manjeet openly addressed this hurt, this anguish, the feeling that he felt that Punjab had been violated. So this was an important show also in his career.
Wow, what a journey. I mean, I'm just imagining the forks and the turns and how much it must have enriched your life and who you are.
It has.
Ina. And so tell me more.
Well, from there, I have been curating across the country, abroad a lot. And what is constantly amazing is the fact that every day, you meet new people. And for me, the greatest joy is talking to young people. As it is, I love chatting with people. I love stories. I love sharing my stories, listening to people. So this life has made it possible for me to connect, to make bridges with people, to listen to people, to tell them a little bit about art, because otherwise what happens sometimes, and I've seen this during Manjeet's exhibitions, that the people who are investing in art are oftentimes, they're looking at it as investors. So there are these people who have made money and they've come and they want to make a quick, let's have this important artist on our walls, and it's a good investment. For me, art is an emotional investment.
Absolutely.
I bought my first piece of art soon after I was married in 1981, and it was a Jamini Rai work. Now, Jamini Rai, I had the good fortune of meeting when I was little, and his family was very well known to me. So I remember with the little whatever money I had, we received as wedding gifts. I told Ravi, I said, you know what? I'm going to go and get a painting that I'd seen in his studio. And Ravi said, yeah, go ahead. He didn't know that he was encouraging the completely wrong person, because there would be many more opportunities in life where his wife would come up to him and say, Ravi, this is a wonderful idea. Can I just... But he continues to be supportive.
Oh, that is phenomenal.
So that was my first Jamini Rai, and it still hangs at home. I have been buying paintings. Whatever I make from art goes back into art. So I have this stunning collection only because I haven't sold a little stick or anything. It's all there. The works that I picked up from Shantiniketan, from the Nandon Mela, K.G. Subramanian, Jogen Chaudhary,
Wow.
All of those works. I
Look at
mean,
that.
it's
And
all
each
over my.
one means something to you, right? Which is
Correct.
why you
Each
say,
one comes with a history lesson. Yes.
yeah, and it's a
Which I'm going to
story.
share with my granddaughter someday.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that'll be phenomenal. That there is something about it which is timeless, right? And you're
Yes.
transmitting that
Yes.
instead of it
Yes.
just being something that is, as you said, as an investment. And I think that transmission is what people need to perhaps feel and realize that
Yes.
it's about
Yes.
that, you know.
The emotional investment. What you
Exactly.
invest is from here, from
From your
within.
heart. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, you went on to this. So, um, in this journey, Ina, uh, what were some of your learnings, your high, each one of us goes through a phase when there is, or we have some moments in our lives which are defining for us, which kind of take us on to the next level or to the, and sometimes we don't even realize when it happens. But when we look back, in as in hindsight, we realize that, oh my God, this is what. Are there any such things that you can share that you kind of?
Well, people only look at um, the happy moments and the glamour and the gloss and the glitter, and they think that it's wonderful. They see me at an opening, and I have always been a great champion of saris. I only wear handloom saris.
Yeah.
So there I am in a beautiful sari, and I'm with important people, surrounded by media and all of that, and that's what the takeaway is.
Mm,
But the point is that you have to work towards that, and it's
mm,
many, many days and sleepless nights
mm,
that lead to that moment.
mm,
Because to curate means spending time with the artist, reading up,
mm,
researching on him. Even as we speak, there are important shows that are happening that I'm
mm,
curating for 2021.
mm,
And even today, I have to work equally hard to make sure that the exhibition is at, it's of a certain stature. I cannot be lazy, and it cannot be lazy curation just because people know me. It makes my life even more difficult because I have to work extra hard. I've just written on Jogen Chaudhary. He's exhibiting as we speak in a Calcutta gallery, and
wow.
it's his show after some time.
Mm,
And there I was. I mean, I dug out letters that he had written, postcards.
mm,
The advantage is also that a lot of the artists have been friends,
yes.
and I've had a personal equation with them. So with Jogen Chaudhary, I remember the time. I'm talking about the early 90s when I went to his to the studio in
Mm,
Shantiniketan,
wow.
and
Mm,
I grew from there. So what I'm trying to say is there are many defining moments in one's life.
mm,
Another one being when Manjeet went into a coma. We were at
mm,
an exhibition
mm,
of Chitrabhanu Mazumdar's,
mm,
and just a month before that, Manjeet was in London exhibiting his
mm,
for the last time, as it turned out. And he went into a coma. 1 minute we were at an exhibition, the next moment he was
mm,
gasping for. Yeah, so it was very difficult time. 3 years and 17 days he was in a coma, and it was a very difficult time. But when I look back, I learned in the beginning it was disbelief that
mm,
one moment he's here and then he's gone, just like
mm,
that, can't
mm,
be.
mm,
But you learn that life throws you these lemons, and you have to carry on because
mm,
you have your life and your energy,
mm,
and you have to carry on. And there are lots of other people who need you. Your family needs you. Other people need you.
mm,
And so initially it was difficult, but from there I went on, and seriously, I feel that I've achieved so much more in the last 15 years because I did it on my own this time.
mm,
I went out there after he had gone, and I felt that I had to also prove it to him.
mm,
Working with new artists, looking at tribal art, looking at artists in Bhopal, for instance, who had never shown before, going back to Shantiniketan, finding young people like Narayan Chandra Sinha, for
mm,
instance, with
yeah.
whom I worked and did this fabulous show in Calcutta, setting up a gallery in Calcutta with Harrington Street Arts Center,
Mm,
working with a Kolkata Center for Creativity, for whom I'm still doing interesting things.
Mhm.
And another wonderful experience was that because our documentary had won the Rajat Kamal, I
Mm.
was asked by by people to be part of the jury for the National Film Awards. And that
Amazing.
was another
Mm.
fascinating experience in my life.
Mm.
I'm a cinema buff. I love
Yeah,
cinema.
yeah.
But for 3 weeks to be locked up at Siri Fort in one hall after the other, just looking at films from Bhojpuri films to
Yes.
Bengali films to, just name it. I still remember Dombi Vili Fast was a film that we got to watch from Bombay, Marathi film.
Right.
What films from Assam and from
Yeah.
various corners of the country, and another avenue opened up, and I said to myself that these things one has to you learn every day. I didn't know that so much was happening seriously,
Mm.
but
Mm.
so then I went on to making my own documentary films that I did on artists, worked with Jabbar Patel for Shivji's film. So that's how life carries on, that sometimes some moments uh, are um, are they make you feel like it's the end, but then there is that sunrise the next morning and you get up full of energy and you say, no, I have to carry on, there's so much to do.
Yeah, and I think that is amazing, Ina. When you say that it's actually it's like a strong pause, and from that pause emerges the next thing that you have to do.
Yeah.
But you have to be ready for that and to be able to be expansive enough to take that step. And I think that's what you demonstrate by what you've done post possibly such a blow to you, but the fact that how you moved on, I think that is amazing, and what an inspiration.
But it's also the bad times that make you feel that you can set an example, you can go ahead, and if you turn away from the negativity around you, the meannesses around you,
Mm.
the main thing is discipline yourself and look inwards, don't look outwards for comfort, because it doesn't happen. there you have to be strong from within. During the pandemic, for instance,
Mm.
and there was this horrible, as it was a very difficult time for all of us. I
Mm.
was about to open Lalu Prasad Shaw's exhibition at Bikaner House,
Mm.
like a retrospective. Everything, floor plan, everything had been set, where we are going to
Mm.
hang, which works, everything. And then the pandemic came and we had to call it off. Now, Laluda is in his mid 80s. He's not
Mm.
a young man. And
Mm.
so we were wondering what to do, when to show,
Mm.
no idea what's going to happen. But we planned and we worked on his catalog, we
Mm.
worked on his on the show, trying to improve it even further, so that when it happens, and you
Mm.
have to be optimistic, it's bound to happen,
Yes.
you'd be ready for it. And the Amphan, for instance, this horrible cyclone that
Mm.
struck lives and
Mm.
really crippled half of Bengal, Sundarbans.
Mm.
I just felt that, this is a time when we are sitting at home and
Mm.
I'm in Delhi. Why don't I try and do some kind of a fundraiser, instead of just feeling bad and making Facebook posts about how sad things are, to
Mm.
try and make the change. So what
Sure.
I did was I reached out to Kolkata Center for Creativity and to Shalini Pasi's foundation, and they came forward immediately. And we were able to raise some, a huge sum of money. And I remember the moment when we donated it to Ramakrishna Mission in Bengal, in Kolkata, telling them that, we would like
Mm.
for you to lead us and tell us, because we don't know where to go.
Mm.
It's a very little amount compared to the damage we see around, but it's a little something. The
Mm.
point is, Sheba, we have to make that change happen. We
Mm.
can't just be sitting there in our armchairs and talking. I mean, all those
Absolutely.
bakar moments don't work for me.
Yes, so true. And it's so easy to try and change the world from sitting at the armchair. You're right.
In
And
whichever way you
yeah,
can. Yeah.
every small little thing. During the pandemic, and as you're talking about this, it comes to my mind, a lot of artists really, really went through a very, very rough time and are still not fully recovered. Is there something that you're also doing for them?
Well, constantly. That's a constant. That's a constant. I have, yes, we have, the fundraiser was with artists, and some people donated works, and some senior artists did. For the others, we gave them back the money. What happened from that moment was a lot of the art was being circulated. So now they have people seeking to buy more works.
Lovely.
So that is another avenue that is open, and I'm very happy about
that. That is delightful.
And, yeah, and a lot of people, the Madhubani artists, and so many other people actually. That's just one sort of art that worked and had lots of takers. But the Gond artists, for instance, several young artists who were working suddenly found that they had reached, because of our resources, across the world. There were people from Dubai calling up and various other places, and so it's nice because of course we were raising funds, but even otherwise, when I work with an artist, I don't take any commission or anything. I work as an independent person. And in fact, Manjeet and I had started Sama, and Sama in the 90s, mid 90s, and even then I remember we had Ganesh Heloi's major exhibition. And it was about showing the works. It was about exhibiting and not making money for yourself. So I think that that pays off. You've built up trust in people.
There's a reputation that you have.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the authenticity shines through. And I think that's...
Yeah, and I'm continuing to work, continuing to search, look for new people to work with. In Harrington Street Art Center, we had done this wonderful show called Tribes of India from across the country. People who work with various art forms, dokra, scrolls, potokchitro, various forms of art, and we had sold out. So those people again feel that they're doing very well because they reached out to people, and it's not through any agent or via media or someone there who's quietly striking a deal. It was directly from them to the collectors and to the buyers.
So did you also was there also an influence of the South in this, in the south of India?
Of course. Of course. Most certainly. Most certainly.
Yeah, because I had some people who told me so about the artists in South India, what they were going through, and it was just the younger ones, all the heritage arts and all, which were just floundering. And
absolutely. And like I always say, Sheba, there are takers for all kinds of art. Okay, some of us know and love the work that Subodh Gupta is doing, or Jitesh Kallat, and museums are collecting them, and important collectors, wonderful. But down the line, there are people who are just starting out, and they have a different taste and also a different budget. Let's be honest about that. And they're seeking new kinds of art, and I find that's very important, to encourage people to look at art.
Yes, absolutely, and exactly.
Lela.
Is that your doggy?
She's very unwell.
I know.
She's very unwell. So she's sitting here with me and doesn't leave me for a second. Yeah.
And that's totally fine. No, I mean, where else should she go? She has to be with her mama.
Yes, she is.
You've gone off video, Ina.
Is that okay?
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Ina, is there an adage you live by, or or metaphor for life that you have? Is there, with all your experience, your reading, your working with art, with films, what is it that you have found is like a guiding statement of your life? Could be a couple. It's all right,
It's just that I feel that I think that I have an open heart, and I'm always open to experiences, and that is the mantra of my life. That I am, that I have this excitement within me. I'm not jaded about art. Even having, been part of this whole fraternity for some over 30 years,
Mm.
art still excites me. Life excites me. Travel excites me. And every time I'm going somewhere, on the one hand, of course, you've been to Mexico, and you've been to places, to the art centers across the world. You've been to the biennales, Venice Biennale, and so on. But also, on the other hand, within the country, Kochi Biennale, there's Shantiniketan, and the artists that you see working there. There's so much to see. There's so much to do. I mean, where is the time to be gloomy and sad?
That's so true. Is there anything you feel in your life you could have done differently? I don't mean it in terms of regrets, but just a reflection.
Initially I felt that maybe it would have helped if I had theoretically studied art as a student. I studied English literature, and sometimes, I just felt it would have been wonderful if I had studied art instead. But then I changed my mind, because I think that the way I look at it, this openness, the fact that for me, art is equally, it's cinema, it's literature, it's multi-dimensional. It's not just this one way of approaching it. So I feel maybe that is an advantage. So really no regrets as such.
Yes, I see
Really
that.
none.
In fact, when you say that, I feel definitely it must have been an advantage, because, I mean, the ability to embrace so much is also because
Yes,
past experience with literature.
yes,
Just
yes.
finding the
I
vocabulary,
was
fit things.
sharing this story with you when there was this case of a priest being brutally burnt in
Mm,
Orissa,
mm.
right, some years ago. Graham Staines, his name
Yes, Graham
was.
Staines, yes, of course, yes.
And Buddhadev Dasgupta had used this incident in one of his films. And it was very, very moving. It was very powerful. And that image remained with me. Years later, I showed this in an exhibition, and alongside Buddhadev Dasgupta's, we put this on a loop. So it was playing in a loop, and alongside I had Riaz Komu, I had several other contemporary artists. I had I had Manu Parekh, I had Jagannath Panda, and we had this exhibition where, of course, we are showing violence, and we are showing what violence is doing to our society in a way that is multi-pronged, not in your face, nothing that is, we were not raising jhandas, just talking about what was happening around us, what we were seeing, in a way that was meant to reach people. So I just think that the power of art, cinema, literature, is, it's huge, it's immense. Picasso, of course, the Guernica painting that he made, which was, and his statement against war, the relevance of it, I mean, there's a constant debate about how much or how little art can do to change society. But it is a way of expressing ourselves, and that expression is always very important. Critical expression is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think perhaps that is something that the courage to do that comes through art. And a number of times, possibly, the courage is lacking in our everyday existences, because we don't know how to do that, or even to figure out how to raise our voices, and to be able to find compelling mediums that do it, and being able to resonate. I think there are huge gifts that art gives us.
Yes.
And thank you for highlighting that, because it just makes so much sense. So each one of us has something unique to offer to humankind. I believe we are all part of a tapestry, and each thread is unique, and each one has a unique gift to give. What do you think your gift is?
I have a wicked sense of humor. I can make people laugh very easily.
That is
And I
fabulous.
find that in the most difficult, suddenly something just is there, and it just sparks it off, and you can't help it. You just have that mad moment of laughter,
Yeah,
and you make others laugh with you. I
yeah.
think that is a big gift for me. I share that today I share it with my granddaughter. She's very mischievous. They tell me that she's going to be a bit like you. So she's wicked, she's mischievous, she's doing things, and her eyes are very, very expressive. And I find there it is. I mean, I'm already communicating with her that, little girl, we are going to be wicked one day. We'll go travel, we'll see the world, but we'll do it our way.
That is phenomenal. Is there something you'd like to this amazing little after all this what we've spoken about, the beauty of art and everything, bringing this up is so human. So the sense of humor and that what you talk about, what would you say to people who are either younger artists or struggling or just wanting to get on with life, or a younger Ina? What's the kind of message you would like to give?
To a younger Rina, I would say that don't be. I'm impatient. I would tell the younger Rina, don't be impatient, because you have a glorious life ahead of you. It doesn't look glorious now. There are lots of pitfalls. There's going to be a lot of difficulties, but hang in there. Don't lose hope, because alongside things that I've shared with you, there have been very difficult moments in my personal life. My parents separated when I was just 12. My brother and I went through some difficult moments in our childhood. I lost my brother. He decided to take his life. So, yeah, there have been some incredibly sad times, and those sad times, they don't go away. They remain with you. Yet the ability to laugh and to face each day with positivity, that is important.
That is so inspiring, not for a minute did I think that there would not have been some, because of what you represent and the depth and the range. It cannot happen unless and until there have been some huge experiences in one's life, and the fact that you say them and share them with us, I am very honored. uh, but also the way that you wear it lightly, and that is amazing.
Yeah, not to make a case of it, but imagine, in those days, I'm talking about the late 60s, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy when people pointed you out in school and said mean things and all of that. So it wasn't easy. But it's okay. You get the good and the bad in life, and no complaints. As long as you contribute to life, I think that's very important. Through the pandemic, I have been working every day,
Yeah.
including on a very interesting project which I'd like to share with you.
Please, yes.
I have been planning there are some exhibitions that I'm going to be curating next year, so I'm working towards that. Like I said, I did Jogin Chaudhary's
Mm,
catalog recently,
mm, mm.
Lalu Prasad shows. So alongside that, I just thought that people are sometimes sitting at home, and it's somewhat depressing. So I asked some senior artists to contribute some drawings, outlines of drawings, and I put it together in a book called Magic of Coloring. So this is for the Kolkata Center for Creativity, and the book it's actually very interesting because it encourages the adult or the child to fill in the outlines with color. But these are not just casual apples and pears and trees. These
Love
are
it's
actual drawings
amazing.
of senior artists. There's Vaikuntham,
Tell
there's
me, how do I get
Jatindas.
this? I will pick this up. This is something so good. This
The
sounds
magic of
so good.
coloring, because that
Magic of color.
magic is
Okay.
important. That moment of magic is so important, and I believe the response has been phenomenal.
I
So
can
I
imagine.
feel very pleased about that.
What an idea. What an idea. And then to execute it. Is there
Mhm.
anything else you'd like to say? And before that, before I ask the closing question, is there what kind of value do these kind of conversations bring for you? Does that kind of
Shiba, I don't have that many conversations. I mean, basically, I've just done a book on Nimai Ghosh and Paresh Maiti called Portrait of an Artist. So I was doing some conversations, promoting that book with Jaipur Lit Fest and Kolkata Lit Fest. So that was with some purpose, because Nimai Ghosh has passed away, and it was almost like you were speaking on his behalf. But this kind of a personal conversation, this is the first time. I don't normally, of course, one is busy. There's just so much happening, and really, there are very few people with whom one can have a conversation like this. And it's because of you, and I respect and admire the person you are. And that is why I was very much looking forward to this conversation. I've spoken about things that I would never do in a public space. It was because you drew me out, and I have a lot of respect for you personally.
I am so privileged and so honored.
No, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I honestly, that's my goosebump moment. Ina, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people who are listening? Any message? Because you never know who you could impact, Ina, particularly with the kind of things you're talking about.
Just to say that, of course, life is difficult. The pandemic is not going away, and we have to really we have to be patient. We have to think positively. It's very difficult. We are losing friends, relatives. It's a very hard time, especially now, because every day, every moment, we feel that we are getting tested. But just to hang in there, and to be kind to animals, to be kind to people who are lesser privileged. If you have an extra blanket at home, it's a very, very cold winter, go out and give it to someone who needs it more than you. There are wonderful foundations outside our little cozy homes. They are doing wonderful work with lesser privileged people. Don't do it and take a selfie with them. Just go give it and walk away. Just do that. Go and help people who look after stray animals, animals who've been abandoned. There are so many creatures, out there who really need our kindness, who need our compassion. Go out and do your bit.
Thank you so much, Ina. And on that note, um, I know you have a lot to do. I know you're very busy. And I really appreciate you having taken the time out to spend this time with me on over a soul brew. I have absolutely thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And thank you so much once again, Ina, for spending this time with me.
Thank you, Sheba. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's been a
And
joy.
okay, okay.